Well, it was a beautiful morning this morning. It was still pretty cold, so I was still layered up with about 3 layers of clothing. Anyway, I thought I'd mess around with the horses because I didn't spend much time with them yesterday. And so I thought I'd just mess around at liberty with them and just get them back into a routine of having something done with them each morning. Ultimately, to get them both into a training routine. But I always do a mixture of play with them. I like to make it interesting for them. As you can see, and you'll see throughout the video, that once Bella gets over being mischievous and bored with us, she takes off. But for a little while, she was in there having a few games with us. When I first get back into training with the horses again, I always play a lot of games with Bill and Bella, Billy in particular, because he loves games of any kind. He also loves reward. He's very reward focused. So sometimes I do a mixture of a few apple treats, but most of it is just praise. He loves to be praised. He likes to be groomed as a reward. And so we play all kinds of funny games with each other. Sometimes it's follow the leader, with me reinforcing commands like come on, walk on, halt, back. And so that I just remind him, because ultimately, when I do go to ride him again, I want him to also be 100% responsive to whatever verbal commands that I've got going. And the reason that I'm doing that is that I have a number of disabilities, muscle weakness at times. And so, because I physically maybe not always able to do the things that I need to do to correct him or get him to respond, I need to make sure that my verbal commands are reinforced into Bill's mind so that if I say a command to him while I'm on his back, he'll respond. And so that's why I do games, because it's fun for him, but he's also learning. And Bella at the same time, she's learning little bits. She's nowhere near as interested in the games that we play, but she does like to come in and have a bit of fun, be a bit of a nuisance. So, anyway, enjoy our fun time or our fun session this morning. So, in this little game of teaching Bill to step backwards without any sort of hand contact, but purely on verbal commands, I'm using a little piece of apple and I put my hand near his chest. I don't touch him, but I ask him repeatedly back, and so I reward quickly, and that's to give him the idea that yes, he's doing what I want him to do. And But I never do any one particular lesson for too long because it's easier for him to process it and then move on to something else. Then we go back to it. He'll do it really quickly. So always make your lesson time interesting if you can for your horses, because the more interesting it is, the more focused they become. The more focused they become, the more keen they are to participate. And as you can see, 90% of the work that I do with Bill is actually off lead, and with Bella. You know, I don't really need to use equipment around them. And so it's similar in a sense to somebody who does dog obedience off lead. Well, I do horse obedience off lead, and it works for me most of the time. You know, I have to accept the fact that sometimes they get bored or their concentration span goes, or Bill gets distracted. That's all part of it. I don't make a big deal out of it. I don't chase him around. I always ask Bill to participate. And when he's had enough, he generally shows me. He'll put his head down near my legs and want me to give him a scruffing around the neck or just a loving up. And that's his I've had enough, Mum. But anyway, enjoy what we're doing. So for Bill, being groomed is a reward and it's a part of the bonding process. So I always do a mixture. I never do anything for particularly long, whether I'm using the flag for desensitizing, whether I'm swinging the rope around again for desensitizing. You know, I stop and change over because he, as I said, he gets bored. As you can see, Bella got bored and decided to wander off. Her concentration span is quite limited at times, depending on her mood, really. But with Bill, I mix it up and make it fun. Bella decides this is a very good time for her to have a roll. And of course, if Bella rolls, and Billy has to roll. And so it was our intermission break. Both of us by this stage were starting to wear out and get bored. I was getting hot because I had 3 layers of clothing on, and Bill was getting hot too, and we'd both run out of energy. Well, probably me faster than him, but he was getting bored. So you always got to know when to call it quits. I prefer to do short and lessons and training sessions, I should say. And really, this training session in reality went for over half an hour. I've got it on speed so that it goes through a bit faster for everybody else. But know your limits and know the horse's limits. Seeing as Bella decided to rejoin us, I decided to put her into a little bit of training as well, much to her disgust. So it wasn't long before she decided to exit again, but it's all in a day's work and all of a bit of fun. And, she retains amazingly those few minutes that she does with us. And I hadn't said to her from a year before, actually it was a year before when I said to her, walk on, and taught her to walk on around the round yard. And with the first time I did it, she had a massive hissy fit and bucked and reared and screamed and galloped around there like a maniac, and while I sat in the middle on my drum until she got over it. And but this year she's been really good. I will add that I rarely ever respond to any performances or what I call hissy fits coming from Bella or Billy. I usually just wait it out, using calm authority. It doesn't bother me if they want to have a hissy fit or play up or be crazy about whatever it is I'm asking them to do, or having a temper tantrum like a little kid, I suppose. But they get over it and we move on. I always try to end on a good note with the horses so that they come away feeling, well, I got through that and it wasn't so bad. I was over it for the day and was departing. Bill hadn't quite finished, so he was a little bit annoyed with me, but look, I was overheating with the amount of clothing I had on, and it was just time to exit the scene. Anyway, if you like our channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks, everyone. See you later, alligator.